Hello and welcome to episode number 64 of the Wondrous Stuff Vodcast, broadcast live on Google Hangouts on air every other week. It's a place where you'll find news and information and commentary about science, engineering and technology topics from the past week and beyond, and anything else that interests us from inside our tiny little human brains. As ever, my name is John Gardner. To help us out on this journey to knowledge, let me introduce my colleagues, Richard Smith and Ross Davidson. Say hello, chaps.
Hello, chaps.
Hello, chaps.
And that delay was entirely enforced upon us by ineptitude. So it's another exciting, gripping, fast-flowing sort of show, and we're going to do the same thing as we've been doing for the last few months now, and we're going to pick a topic and we're going to talk endlessly about it until we have nothing else to say, and then end the show. So this time it's one of Richard's little subjects, and it's. Let me set the scene. So, a long way back in the past, a million years ago, actually 100 million years ago, or in fact, order of magnitude, a couple of orders of magnitude out. 100 million years ago, the Earth was in the grip of an extreme greenhouse effect. The polar ice caps had all but melted, but in the south of the Earth, the rainforests were inhabited by dinosaurs, and they existed in their place. Now, that bit of the south of the Earth is now what we call Antarctica, and it's frozen. And cue Richard.
Great intro.
You're really leaving it at that. Well, because
that's how Antarctica came to be, children.
Yes, and there's lakes there. So the subglacial lakes, there's 387 of them. Some of them are quite big. They seem to be about 2 miles down, and there's life there. So they found microorganisms living there. So there's liquid. The reason that it's liquid, even though it's cold, is because of the pressure from the weight of the ice above the water. It's speculated also that the geothermal heat, because of the depth of these lakes, from the Earth's core might be warming them up as well, although I don't think that's been proven. And also the ice sheet itself insulates the water from the heat above. So yes, they found life there. So they've only looked a little bit. So there's 387 lakes, like I say. They've only drilled 1 or 2 of them, and not very much. So who knows what else is down there?
I think the thing is that the scientists have been trying to do this for a long time, and they've had various attempts. But I think all of the previous attempts, correct me if I'm wrong, but all the previous attempts had some contamination in where they were bringing it up. So the top layer had contaminated the specimen. But this method that they were using, they drill it down, they pop this like sort of canister down, and right below the ice, it seals itself up, and then they can bring it up. So so they can guarantee that what they're getting is right down. It's not being contaminated by something on the surface.
Yeah.
And I think that they did the first sample of this. I don't know whether they've done many samples, but the first sample of this was in January this year, and it was in the Lake Willems region, isn't it? Is that the right?
Yeah, that's the second biggest one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how big are these lakes then, like size-wise?
Well, I don't know, but I'm guessing the size of Wales.
Miles.
Everything's the size of Wales, isn't it?
10 kilometers long, that one.
Right. Wow.
And 490 feet deep.
So how did they find them? Like, how did they know they were there? Just like radar or something?
No idea.
How did they find that the lakes were there?
Yeah.
Like,
where did they know?
Well, do ice core drilling, don't they, to see to establish for sure what's there.
I guess they
could they drill 2 miles?
Well, ground penetration radar, don't they use that as well?
I'm guessing they must do, mustn't
they? They use boiling hot water basically to drill down.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not like drilling stone.
Yeah. A lot easier, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah. Plus, they'd use like sterilized water so that then you don't contaminate what might be living there. because I think the Russians come under flack when they did it early days because they were using antifreeze. It's like, yeah, that won't kill everything that's in there.
I love the acronym. I love the acronym for the project. You seen that?
Yeah.
The Willans Ice Stream Subglacial Access Research Drilling Project. Wizard.
So I think so. Basically the water. This lake is about 800 meters under the ice sheet. I think that's right. And what they got back, they reckon, is 130,000 cells in each millimeter of water. So the density of microbial life is what you would expect in some of the world's deep oceans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so essentially this has been sealed off from the rest of the planet for at least 120,000 years, and they've had no sunlight down there. It could be a million years. What they're saying is because there's no life, they still need some energy. So they reckon that it's the inorganic compounds like ammonium and nitrate and sulfides are the energy givers.
Mm-hmm. So is this like new types of microbial life?
No, the stuff they found is extant on the surface of the planet. So the stuff they found is alive elsewhere, which is a shame because it would be nice to find something that's completely unique. But they do say that if it's early days, if they do find life in some of these conditions, then it will have to have evolved in a completely separate way to the rest of life on Earth. So it'll give us like an insight into. It's not separate evolution because it's got the same starting point, of course, but it a million years plus of diversification.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think there's two areas who are interested in this. I mean, some of them, the actual the biologists who are looking at it from an earthly point of view are they're hoping that they find something like nematodes or tardigrades or something like that there. But they haven't at the moment. What they've just found is microorganisms. But that's what they're hoping for. But also, there's a whole section of astrobiologists, which I didn't even know there was. But there's such things as astrobiologists because they're saying that what they're finding here, this land with ice and trapped water, is what you would get on something like Europa, Jupiter's moon, and the moon that orbits Saturn and stuff, or one of the planets. So I think that there's two sort of streams coming from this research. Because I think that whatever they find in here, they can expect something, certainly from a similar energy feed, which would be the ammonia and the stuff like that, on the similar sort of moons and planets. So I think that's one of the things.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this just before we started as well. There was this when we brought this up. It reminded me of a story that I was reading last week on another similar ecosystem, which I have actually now found. And this was in 2006. Something called the Ayalon Cave. So basically, this was a cave that they reckon has been again sort of cut off from the rest of the sort of like ecology, like the surrounding ecology, for millions of years. And when they opened it, it was what was it? It's like over 100 meters below the surface of a quarry, and it was like a quarry cement manufacturer that found it. And they found some species that they think are like millions of years old, and they're unique species. So they found like sort of six different unknown species of crustaceans in there.
Oh, so these are new to science then?
Yeah.
Well, they were in 2006.
In 2006, yeah.
That's a long time ago. That's 10 years ago.
Yeah. But that was completely self-contained. So again, they had no sunlight. So their sort of underground cave was all self. What's the word? It was a complete like ecosystem that fed itself.
Yeah, self-sustaining.
So,
but we kind of know that this is. So the actual fact that different life forms can exist under sort of different environments without sunlight. We know this can happen because if you can go, into the deep oceans, and there's pockets around various vents and stuff, that we know there's teeming with. So I don't think.
True, but the difference here is that, like you said, for life to exist on Europa and possibly Saturn's moons, they'd not only have to cope with the lack of light, but you'd have to cope with the total darkness, which you don't quite get at the
and the temperature, I guess.
The temperature, the pressure's another.
Yeah, that's true.
Extreme pressure, and extremely low nutrient levels, and isolation from the rest of the biodiversity on the planet, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So it speaks to how robust life is, doesn't it? That you know that question about can life exist elsewhere? Well, it lends to the idea that life can exist in some quite extreme conditions.
Are there any sort of environments that are devoid of life? Like, even at the top of Everest, there'll still be life, won't there?
Well, bacterial life, yeah. But there's plenty of places devoid of multicellular life, I suppose.
Yeah. Because I suppose that's the thing. It would probably more of a surprise to find an underground lake that didn't have microbial life. That would be sort of a more fundamental discovery, really, wouldn't it? Really.
Well, it would speak to the same questions, wouldn't it? I guess it would say, well, life isn't actually as robust as we thought.
Mm-hmm.
Although it could just say that, well, life hasn't had the opportunity here. It hasn't been introduced here.
Yeah, if it was completely isolated, and it got isolated before life emerged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing that when we've talked about the Drake equation before, is the thing that you don't know. It may be that the conditions are perfectly acceptable for life, but if life hasn't been introduced, if life hasn't evolved in the first place, it doesn't matter whether you've got the conditions. Although you could argue that eventually molecules will always end up competing, and so therefore you will always have something resembling life given enough time.
Mm-hmm. So what else are they going to do? Are they going to keep on drilling in this Antarctic lake and just keep looking through all of them?
No doubt they will.
Mm.
But also, I mean, I have to admit, I haven't read the paper. Has anybody read the paper?
No,
I haven't read the paper because it was very much a TLDR scenario.
Yeah.
But I think
it's $39.95, not peanuts.
Well, no, there was a link to it, wasn't
there? You can rent it.
Rent?
Yeah.
Is that like being in a library? Is that what they call it nowadays?
What is this library thing you talk of?
No, well, the paper was on the link that Richard sent initially, which was he's rapidly tried to. Direct. Yeah, so it was the paper. He says Earth and Planetary Science Letters.
Yeah, that's the one. If you click on that link.
It was just the abstract available. Ah, right. Well, that's why I never paid that much money. So what is the price of science? And I guess is $40 is the price of science. But yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to have known if on their initial findings, and I guess that'll be in the paper. But I'd like to know the initial findings and see if they have found any divergence in what they've seen, or if they've seen microbes that are similar to elsewhere on Earth.
I think it's the same. I think it's the same species that exists on the surface of the Earth, basically, that they found.
No big differences.
No.
So does that mean? I guess that means that as far as microbes concerned, they branched before.
I think they just basically are quite steady state. They don't tend to change much because they're so simple. If you know what I mean. So you'd only really.
So if you've only got a couple of cells, then
you've got to really change to be considered different species in it. Obviously, if you're a few cells or single cells, then you've got to, it's got to be a dramatic difference, doesn't it?
But I guess so. I mean, presumably they're going to continue with getting new samples, different samples using this method, because if they know this method is definitely taking well, I guess what I'm trying to say is if they know that this method of sampling the water is definitely uncontaminatable,
yeah,
that's a word, make one up, then they'll try it again in different places. Maybe it's in different lakes, but certainly in different parts of the Wilderness Lake.
Well, that one isn't a very old lake either. So even though the area where you were saying in your introduction is from the Cretaceous period, they believe that the water only began to melt in that particular lake a few decades ago. So it'd be interesting to see in some more ancient lakes what the situation is there. You might find the Loch Ness Monster swimming about now.
I've got a picture of some of the water. Shall I share that?
It's pretty murky, isn't it?
I don't think I'd drink it. They're not very nice.
Oh, I'd give it a go.
Light
so
brown.
Is that it seems to have a greenish hue about it.
It says it's light brown colour due to small suspended particles.
Oh, right, okay. So not some of that might be just dirt.
And there's a sediment core as well.
Oh, right.
Turbid lake water above the sediments.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Ooh.
Oh, something else.
That looks like the bottom of someone's coffee pot that they don't.
That's like filtering the water to try and get the contents out. This is an actual picture from the bottom of the lake.
Mm.
Oh, so they fed a camera down as well. Oh.
Mm. Uh-huh. There's pictures of the actual borehole as well. As you would expect, looks like a hole.
Looks like a hole in ice.
Imagine dropping your watch down there or something. Just dropped for 2 miles.
Shit. Excellent.
Cool. Well, another one for the future then. I think.
Yeah, it's just interesting to know that what it might speak to about life, where life can exist. I mean, like you say, there is other examples of where extremophiles live on the planet, in volcano situations and in bottoms of the oceans and stuff. But if we do find life in some of these lakes where it's been isolated for hundreds of thousands or millions of years, and life exists that's completely independent of the life on Earth, then that'll be great to find.
I think this has there's a couple of things that I wanted to mention as well. This has a local perspective from our point of view, because there was a guy from one of the scientists was from Northumbria University, and but the second thing that I wanted to make a point is that we've covered stuff like this before, not exactly like this, but we've covered stuff from research into what life lies beyond the various trenches in the deep of the ocean. And the one thing that keeps coming back to mind, and I'm probably oversimplifying things as is my want and that's what I do, but it does appear that that scientists do spread themselves rather thinly on stuff like this. I mean, to me, it would make sense that everybody who is looking at this type of thing gets together and does one thing first, one thing at a time. Everybody is so everybody's looking at a specific trench. Everybody's looking at event and life around event, and then everybody looks at Antarctica. But there only seems to be little pockets of actually doing stuff. And we've already said that we know that life is teeming in the deeps of the ocean, and is in single figures how much of it has been investigated. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, that's true, but also it answers a different question as well, doesn't it? Because we already know life's there, so it's trying to answer it: is there also life here in a situation that's completely different? Which, like I say, speaks to the question about where life can exist, and if the conditions do genuinely resemble that which we discover are the case on other planets and moons on the solar system, then then it's encouraging in that sense, isn't it?
Mm.
Whereas finding them in the bottom of an ocean, albeit it's interesting and there's lots of life to find there, and I'm all for that. It doesn't really tell us about life on Europa, whereas this might.
But I think actually, what Ross said before, it almost seems to me that I expect life to be everywhere, and if it's not somewhere, then that's the real waving of the flag moment.
Yeah, but I just think until we look, we don't know, do we? Until you do the science, then it's just speculation, isn't it?
I think when I saw this article, I read it and I was like, yeah, life's underneath there. Well, I kind of expected that. But in a way, for me, the real scientific breakthrough would have been exactly what Ross said. Would have been like, this particular lake is devoid of all life.
I'd be genuinely surprised if we find life on Europa. Would you not?
No, don't think so. I genuinely don't think. I don't think I would be surprised if they found life on Europa. No, I think it'll be everywhere in the solar system. I think it'll be different types of life. I think it might not be all use oxygen as a feeding an energy source or anything like that. But I think it'll be everywhere. Generally, I do.
Mm-hmm.
And on that bombshell,
have they got any have they got any missions planned to go to Europa and try and penetrate the ice or anything like that? There must be planning that, mustn't there?
We've been around it and took pictures and tried to do some analysis of its composition, but I don't know if that's slated as of yet. It'll be quite complicated. It'll be quite difficult to do, wouldn't it, because of the distance?
It would be, but let's have a look.
It's mostly they were flybys, aren't
they? Yeah. Lobbying for future missions.
To get some gear there, you would think is a little bit beyond us at the moment.
The Jupiter Icy Moon Explorer, or JUICE. ESA.
Why those crazy scientists? What letters have we got in this that we can make this an acronym?
Yeah, doesn't look like they've actually got. They've got a couple of more orbiters and flybys, 45 low altitude flybys, an ice penetrating radar.
Oh well, so that's obviously what they started off by using in this one.
The Europa Clipper.
So let's have a look at.
Yeah, probably getting samples from Europa is probably a way off yet.
Yeah.
But might happen in our lifetimes. You never know.
You see, I think that to get beyond, our next planet is Mars, just by the fact that going into the sun at Venus wouldn't be, it wouldn't be probable really. So you go to Mars now. I can understand how you would go to Mars and possibly build a sort of a jump off point to go to the next. But I can't see how they would get an autonomous vehicle onto Jupiter and be able to control it in enough detail to do things. Although I guess that's when they would write code to be autonomous.
Well, reading here, they're saying there was a proposal in 2001 for a large nuclear-powered melt probe, or cryobot, that would melt through the ice until it reached an ocean. Once it reached the water, it would deploy an autonomous underwater vehicle, a hydrobot, that would then gather the information and send it back to Earth.
Yeah, but that's like 15 years ago. What stage are we at?
But I mean, even
this proposed mission has not yet reached a serious planning stage.
Yeah,
that sounds fairy tale to me. That.
I could propose a mission because it seems to me that you don't have to have any sort of.
That would be like, if we did that now, that would be the pinnacle of human engineering achievements thus far, wouldn't it? That is an extremely, extremely complicated feat to pull off.
Mind you, I mean, you think of what was that? What was the lander on? Was it the last lander on Mars that had the ludicrously complicated landing mechanism that worked? And it was just like, that's just mental.
But it's just the distance. I think the magnitude further out.
Yeah, the thing with this as well, I think we've covered this before in a previous show, where we talked about the fact that there's such a risk of contamination that whatever they send
the
there,
law, of course, that law that
it
you...
has to be so perfectly clean, and they're probably nowhere near being able to do that, so they're not seriously talking about it now anyway. Because they would hate to contaminate.
But that's only wasn't that only for when you were bringing samples back, or was that just for anything?
No, for
contaminating there. Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is introduce life to a planet that doesn't have any, accidentally.
Yeah, it ruins all what you're looking for, like.
Well, it'd be like could be like Christopher Columbus coming to North America, couldn't it? Just kills everything off.
Oh, humans are good at that, though. Right. Well, I think that's probably the end of this subject. So tonight is a shorter than usual program. Has anyone else got anything to say, chaps, about anything?
Anything?
No. Okay.
No.
Well, while you're having a little quick think, I think I'm going to start a Twitter feed for the Wonder of Stuff. I have checked and I have registered the Wonder of Stuff tag of @WonderOfStuff. Hey, because I'm original. So I thought, because I do post some scientific. God, I can't speak. I do post some scientific stories on my Twitter feed, which incidentally I haven't got on my little banner tonight because my banner's disappeared like everybody else's. Seems to have just taken me an extra few months. God, Google, what the hell's happening? But yes, but I think mine gets confused with all of the other tech stuff that I put in. So I thought about having a Twitter feed solely for the science and engineering technology, well, the whole remit of our program really. So if you're up for that, lads.
Well, I've followed it.
Oh, have you?
You've got an egg. You need to get rid of the egg.
I know. I've got to put a logo up. Hang on. Don't worry. I'll put a logo up. Well, I'll put Rich's logo up, obviously.
Why not two eggs in my picture, and then the three of us will be on there?
Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on that because I didn't understand it.
2 eggs and plus my picture, and then the 3 of us will be represented.
Oh, I see. Baldest.
Yeah, baldest.
I'm not happy about that.
That's beneath you, Richard.
It is. It's way beneath him. Way. Anyway, so next week we'll have a Twitter feed. God, look at us go. We're into the social media stratosphere. We are. We've got blog. So I may as well tell everybody. We've got blog, wonderstuff.com. It's got all of the links to the YouTube videos. It's got an RSS feed of the audio feed. We're on Pure Radio, digital internet radios, wonderstuff.com. Yeah, got to get us on iTunes as well. I have to make some time to put us on iTunes, and that's it really, and that's the end of the program. And I hope you've been enlightened and are querying your very existence, because I know I am now. And so until next exciting installment, which will be in 2 weeks' time and might be a bank holiday. Yes, I think
there is a bank holiday coming up. Yeah.
So it'll probably be on a Monday, because that is what normally happens on a bank holiday. But
that's next weekend, though.
Is it?
No, it's the 30th, isn't it? 30th?
Oh no, it's the weekend after. Yeah, it's when I come.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it'd have to be the Monday because I'll not be here on the Sunday.
Well, there you go. So a decision's been made. Unusually for us, we've actually made a decision 2 weeks in advance, rather than an hour in advance, which is how we normally do things. So until that time, when your brain will be suitably bereft of information, and that thirst for knowledge will be back. Until then, we'll say goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.